Let's start off with Mr Starmer then, backing this idea of giving countries like Vietnam and Iraq payments in order to cut the number of migrants crossing. Does that mean that his current plan is not working? And let's just remind ourselves about those famous Keir Starmer 3 words.
You will have helped to smash the gangs, secure our borders and save countless lives. Smash the criminal gangs, and they are criminal gangs, that are running this vile trade and putting people in the boats. Take those gangs down. But I think smashing the gangs that are taking people's money is a deterrent. I think you have to smash those gangs. The only way to stop that is to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade. Smash the gangs.
We never tire, Simon, of playing that little montage of smashing the gangs. Now he's, worked out that smashing the gangs might not be working, so let's just go to places like Iraq and say, do us a favour, Governor. Please, can you try and convince your fellow countrymen not to travel to the UK? Is that likely to work, Simon?
No, it's not likely to work. Keir Starmer has said this is the right thing to do, giving money to Iraq and Turkey and Vietnam. This won't impact or reduce illegal immigration coming into this country at all. It's an absolute damp squib. No doubt about that. The evidence is there. We've given out billions in international aid over the last several years. That hasn't deterred anybody from coming to the United Kingdom. We've been giving millions of pounds to France in recent years to try and encourage them to deter people from coming to Britain, and it hasn't worked either. The reality is that we need to do 3 things. One is turn the boats around, as Australia did, stop the boats from crossing the channel. Illegal immigrants that do come into the country, whether that's by boat or in the back of a lorry or whatever else, we need a Rwanda-style policy that returns them immediately for coming into the country illegally. And then thirdly, we need to come out to the European Convention on Human Rights so that those who are here can be returned to their country more easily. That's the only solution to this. There's no shortcut or alternative to what to those points.
One of the areas that Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary, said to be looking at is kind of emulating what Italy have done. Italy claim a certain level of success in migration because they paid 171 million quid essentially in EU and Italian funds for Tunisia. Now, I don't know how that's broken down, but that's the model they're kind of looking at, hoping something similar will work.
Yeah, well, what is interesting with Italy is that they've come to an agreement with Albania, which is not dissimilar to the Rwandan policy that Keir Starmer scrapped within days of entering Downing Street. So I think Italy could well be on the right track. Anybody coming into Italy can be sent to Albania, and there a decision will be made on whether they are a genuine asylum seeker or not. Now, that alternative, I think, is a good part of the solution, but you can't see Keir Starmer or Yvette Cooper attempting to do that. If you read the detail about this announcement today, they're talking about incentives for individuals in these countries, Vietnam, Iraq, elsewhere, to stay in their country. You can see we're going to be giving money to people who will effectively use that money to pay people traffickers to bring them here.
This one's not going to end here, is it? Because I mentioned the Roadrunner analogy, Simon, a second ago, and I sort of imagine Keir in a couple of months' time coming up with another. Oh, the gang thing didn't work. We threw some money at Iraq. That didn't work. Kel surprise, and now we're going to... Here's our next scheme. Until somebody seriously looks at literally stopping boats, Simon, then nothing's going to happen, right?
Nothing's going to happen. That's absolutely right. We've had super drones being bought to observe the illegal immigrants coming over the channel. I don't know why we need them, but they've been bought by this government. We're now giving money to developing countries and elsewhere. We need firm action on this. And, well over 80% of the country, the British population, believe this is a massive issue. People feel very strongly about this. And it's Keir Starmer will be one-term Starmer if he carries on prevaricating on this very issue.
Yeah, top point. Let's move to this story. Donald Trump's allies accusing the Biden administration of escalating the war in Ukraine through the authorization of American-supplied long-range missiles. Let's have a listen to the EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell on this very point.
Been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcas. I continue believing this is what has to be done.
I'm wondering here, Simon, is this Joe Biden's, it's clearly his last big foreign policy move in office. Does this seem curious to you? Does it seem rather dangerous to you?
I suspect it could well be dangerous. I mean, 2 months to go as president in the United States, and he allows and encourages Ukraine to use long-distance missiles. The problem with this is that it could well escalate the situation. I'm concerned as to what Russia will now do, and they've said they will escalate matters if these missiles are used. So my concern is what Putin will do next on this. Very worrying. And it's interesting, isn't it, that Trump has been talking about de-escalating the situation, and yet Biden in these last 2 months is escalating it. The reality is that I have some sympathy with the Trump view. We have to start bringing this war to a close. I mean, it's been going on for months upon months upon months, and millions of people dying. It's not a good situation at all.
No, not at all. And I sense, as you rightly say, that in the last couple of weeks we understand there's been some kind of conversation or dialogue between Trump's team and Russia. Zelensky claimed at the weekend that there was a big chance of this coming to some sort of conclusion or reduction when Trump is in power. And then at the backdrop of all of this, Biden comes along and says, let's use the big missiles on them, boys. I mean, that just seems slightly at odds with how I thought this story was beginning to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And Biden's defence is that North Korea have been sending troops into Russia to support them, and that's his justification for doing this. It also looks likely that both Britain and France will now provide long-range missiles to Ukraine, in step with Biden. But we have to, the positive is that Trump, for whatever people think of Trump, he's always been a very peaceful president in actual fact. He's been very good on foreign affairs. No wars or military action whilst he was president. So I think he will have a cooling effect on that war. And as Zelensky is already talking about, bringing it steadily to a close. And I think that needs to be welcomed.
Yeah, we'll watch with interest. Simon, stay with us. Simon Danczuk is with us, the former Labour MP, but now the voice of sanity and absolute reason. Thank you to him. Back with more stories in a couple of moments' time. We are going to focus a little bit in this section as well on Keir Starmer's idea of stopping the boats. He's been trying to smash those gangs. He's not really smashed any gangs, so that sort of slightly defeats the policy. If you're not going to smash any, then don't say smash them. You see what I'm saying? So that hasn't worked out, not yet at least. Now, let's just throw loads of money to countries where people might come. I mean, Vietnam, for God's sake. People coming from Vietnam to get in the to get to the Channel, to get to Calais, to then cross, to get to the United Kingdom. And we go, no, this is a humanitarian thing. Get in the bin and talk absolute nonsense. And look, I've said it all along. I think we all recognise, look, if an individual wants to give it a go and they've got $3,000 to spare and they're willing to risk it, then, yeah, I'd do anything I could to improve my life. But that's not the point. It's not a buffet. It's not a la carte for anyone that says, yeah, if you want to go and live in the UK, here's all you have to do. No, it can't work like that. We've tried every scheme. All of them have failed. This one's doomed to failure as well, unless you think differently. Will Keir Starmer's plans to solve the migrant crisis work?